This episode is sponsored by Kinsta. Between juggling client meetings, managing your website, and keeping up with everyday tasks, who has the time to stress out about website security? Well, with Kinsta, the technical stuff is taken care of, so you can focus on what you do best. Kinsta provides managed hosting for WordPress, offering lightning-fast load times, top-tier security, and unmatched human-only customer support. Whether you're a business owner, web developer, or running a digital agency, Kinsta makes managing your website easy and efficient. Kinsta provides enterprise-grade security, being one of the few hosting providers for WordPress with SOC 2 and other certifications, guaranteeing the highest level of security for your website. Thanks to their unlimited free expert-led migrations, Kinsta ensures a smooth transition for you from other hosting providers. Customers have reported 200% faster load times post-migration to their platform. What I find cool about Kinsta is their fast and reliable customer service and premium features that are included at no extra cost. Ready to experience Kinsta's hosting for yourself? Get your first month free when you sign up at kinsta.com today. That's KINSTA.com.
We built one of the largest aviation businesses in the business of FAA test preparation. We produced the books, the curriculums, everything for pilots. We made an 8-figure exit to private equity, all great. However, what I'm telling you is just what you see on stage. Behind the scenes, we nearly went broke twice. We couldn't manage our personal finances, which means we couldn't manage our business finances. We almost lost that business on several occasions. And Moolah, oddly enough, was really built out of that. I'm Jason Schappert, and I'm the founder of Moolah.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Like 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the backhand.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do
Took
next.
many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their back.
A company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve. I was proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was
Yes, we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time. The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it
you.
off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really want it. Not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story.
I'm your host, Noah Lappart, and today how Jason Schappert is building smart tools so you can unlock the power of your paycheck and its moolah. This episode is sponsored by Speakeasy. Grow your API user adoption and improve engineering velocity with friction-free integration experiences. With Speakeasy's platform, you can now automatically generate SDKs in 10 languages and Terraform providers in minutes. Visit speakeasy.com/codestory and generate your first SDK for free. This message is sponsored by QA Wolf. QA Wolf gets engineering teams to 80% automated end-to-end test coverage and helps them ship 5 times faster by reducing QA cycles from hours to minutes. With over 100 5-star reviews on G2 and customer testimonials from SalesLoft, Drata, and AutoTrader, you're in good hands. Join the Wolfpack at QAWolf.com. Jason Schappert grew up in an entrepreneurial family. His mom and dad were always working together, and Jason's first job was working for his parents' pest control company, where he crafted his understanding of what success looked like. Outside of tech and professional life, he's married with 3 kids and is very into all of their sports. Fun fact, his kids enjoy doing their homeschooling in the office with their dad, listening to his calls and asking big questions. So, business is actually what they do for fun together. For 16 years, Jason grew and ran a business in aviation. After a successful exit, he and his wife Magda were considering what to do next. She quickly remembered all of the things Jason did behind the scenes to set up their personal finances for success in the midst of a chaotic startup life. This is the creation story of Moolah.
We built one of the largest aviation businesses in the business of FAA test preparation. We produced the books, the curriculums, everything for pilots. We made an 8-figure exit to private equity, all great. However, what I'm telling you is just what you see on stage. Behind the scenes, we nearly went broke twice. We couldn't manage our personal finances, which means we couldn't manage our business finances. We almost lost that business on several occasions. And Moolah, oddly enough, was really built out of that. When my wife and I sold that business and we looked at each other and said, well, we're too young to retire. And we believe that when you have a skill set, you are called to use it and bring that to the marketplace and whatever that may be. So we relaxed for about 2 days and we said, what's the next thing we're going to do? My wife said, think of what you've done for our personal finances. When we knew nothing, when we were making money, in one hand and it was flying out the other hand, right? Like when we had to get a grip on our own finances and we had no clue what we were doing. You built the spreadsheets, you built the algorithms, you built the budgeting system. It is time to add the technology around that and help other people to steward their finances, their investments, in the same way you pulled this family and you pulled this business back from the ropes of defeat, essentially. And that was her little pep talk she gave me. It was taking the system that we know works and applying it to the masses, because sometimes, I'm a 3-time college dropout. I have just school of hard knocks, in everything. I learned the hard way, like so many great entrepreneurs like yourself. And sometimes that is the best education, because what happens in a book and what happens in the real world are often two different things. And that's really what we set out to do at Moolah.
So tell me about Moolah's MVP. So the first version of the product you're building. How long is it taking you to build? Has taken you to build, and what sort of tools are you using to bring it to life?
It was 9 months in the making, so we call it our little baby, literally. And it's so funny, taking the skills that we learned in the last business, what took us 2 or 3 years to come to market, now 16 years later, using the same, totally different niche, right? From aviation to personal finance and investing, but business is business through and through. So using that skill set to get us to MVP, and using the same philosophy that someone told me 16 years ago with my aviation business, you don't have to get it right, you just have to get it going. And that sounds crazy when you talk about teaching people to fly. It sounds even crazier when you say, Jason, you're dealing people some money in personal finance. And I get it. There's a perfectionist in all of us that we have to defeat sometimes and remind ourselves that you don't have to get it right, you just have to get it going. So for our MVP, did I want to launch the full banking platform with debit cards and secure credit and business accounts and family accounts? Of course, I wanted to do that, but that wasn't feasible given the budget. We were entirely self-funded, by the way, from our exit of our last business. To what were we going to bring to market? Because it is all about getting to market quickly and testing these iterations. So we launched just the investing side. And we rolled out investing based on what we call the Moolah meter, which is, it's more machine learning than it is artificial intelligence, but there is a large language model in there as well as IRAs, right? Individual retirement accounts, and setting these sort of things up to set the next generation up for success. Because people are trying to time the market and buy at the right time. In reality, it's time in the market that does so well. So we wanted to get people in and get them in there quickly. Let's prove our concept here first, and then we roll out the other features. So that's really how we determined our MVP. And that's so tricky as someone in technology to know, when do I feature lock? When do I say enough is enough? When do I stop giving the dev team tickets and bugs and everything else and say, hey, this is it. This is what we're going to market with. You can make an argument for either side of it. Look at the recent news of what happened to the CEO of Sonos. Released a buggy app and look what happened. Versus the person who never releases the app because they're pursuing to squash every bug. Where is the balance between the Sonos failure and the perfectionist that never launches? You have to meet in the middle on those two things. And that's what's so critical with an MVP.
This episode is sponsored by AMI. Have you ever wondered why your work laptop has a little barcode sticker on it? Who put it there, and does anyone care if you peel it off? Believe it or not, that little sticker is part of a massively important business of what IT folks call hardware asset management, or HAM for short. Most companies spend thousands of dollars on equipment for employees, but here's the kicker. Most also track this stuff by hand. That's right, another spreadsheet monster hiding in the shadows, taking up your team's time. So how do you fix it? I'm glad you asked. Meet AMI. AMI, or Asset Management International, has been making software to simplify the HAM process for over 20 years. Their automated tools help companies keep tabs on their equipment, from storage to what's on your desk. Their tech generates detailed reports and audits to ensure proper tracking, usage, and recycling of hardware equipment, which means gone are the days of lengthy inventories and misplaced equipment. Want to reduce your daily IT headaches? Head over to AMItracks.com. That's AMITRACKS.com to request a demo today. This message is sponsored by SnapTrade. Link in user brokerage accounts and build world-class investing experiences with SnapTrade's unified brokerage API. With over $12 billion in connected assets and over 300,000 connected accounts, SnapTrade's API quality and developer experience are second to none. SnapTrade is SOC 2 certified and uses industry-leading security practices. Developers can use the company's official client SDKs to build investing experiences in minutes without the limitations of traditional aggregators. Get started for free today by visiting snaptrade.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by AMI. Have you ever wondered why your work laptop has a little barcode sticker on it? Who put it there, and does anyone care if you peel it off? Believe it or not, that little sticker is part of a massively important business of what IT folks call hardware asset management, or HAM for short. Most companies spend thousands of dollars on equipment for employees, but here's the kicker. Most also track this stuff by hand. That's right, another spreadsheet monster hiding in the shadows, taking up your team's time. So how do you fix it? I'm glad you asked. Meet AMI. AMI, or Asset Management International, has been making software to simplify the HAM process for over 20 years. Their automated tools help companies keep tabs on their equipment, from storage to what's on your desk. Their tech generates detailed reports and audits to ensure proper tracking, usage, and recycling of hardware equipment, which means gone are the days of lengthy inventories and misplaced equipment. Want to reduce your daily IT headaches? Head over to AMItracks.com. That's AMITRACKS.com to request a demo today. This episode is sponsored by SpeakEasy. Whether you're growing the user adoption of your public API or streamlining internal development, SDKs can turn the chore of API integration into effortless implementation. Unburden your API users from guessing their way around your API while keeping your team focused on your product. Shorten the time to live integration and provide a delightful experience for your customers. With SpeakEasy's platform, you can now automatically generate up-to-date, robust, idiomatic SDKs in 10 languages and Terraform providers in just a matter of minutes. SDKs are feature-rich with type safety, auto retries, and pagination. Everything you need to give your API the developer experience it deserves. Deliver a premium API experience without the premium price tag. Visit speakeasy.com/codestory to get started and generate your first SDK for free. So you've got the MVP, you've launched the investment side. How are you progressing and maturing the product? And, there's a lot more sides that you want to release. I'm curious about how you build your roadmap. How do you go about deciding, okay, this is the next most important thing to build or to address with Moolah?
I look at every decision as levers. Does this give me an additional revenue lever to make additional money by delivering additional value to the same customer? In the fintech space, the customer acquisition cost is off the charts, as you can imagine. It is a very long onboarding process. If you looked at my Figma screens, you would go, oh my goodness, what is your drop-off percentage on the onboarding, like the abandonment? Because I don't get to pick all these. The SEC has their requirements, FDIC has their requirements, FINRA has their requirements, all these different screens, all these different disclosures. So when I get somebody and they go through that entire long onboarding process, that customer is so valuable to me. So how do I deliver more value to them? By delivering more revenue levers to pull. So when I'm looking for the next thing, which in our case is the banking side of things, delivering a debit card, envelope style budgeting, which we call pockets, high yield savings accounts in addition to your investing accounts, HSAs, 529 college savings plans. How do I take the same customer and help them build their roadmap? If you start with the customer and then build your roadmap off of their financial dreams, off of their financial roadmap, this is how you create success. Now, this is not 100% democracy, because we all have heard the analogy, Henry Ford goes to the people, they say they want a faster horse. Like, it can't be a perfect democracy where you only let the people decide. You have to know your customer avatar well enough to know what they need that they're not even telling you. Right? I mean, think back to, Steve Jobs. I know he didn't invent the MP3 player, but I remember having one of the original MP3 players that only held 8 songs. He comes out and says, 1,000 songs in your pocket. The way that you have to think things through on this technology, you have to be thinking even ahead and beyond of what your customer avatar really wants, and more importantly, what they need, and then educate them to do all that.
I'm curious about team. How do you go about building your team? I know it's early days. Maybe the team is a partner right now, or maybe there are team members. I'm curious about how you went about deciding or choosing both of those things. And if the team is still being formed or is in the future, how are you going to build that team and what you're going to look for in those people to indicate they're winning horses?
First off, we hire, and we did this in our aviation business, and I did it by accident, honestly. We've always hired for culture fit and for personality. Now, there are some rare exceptions where, yes, I need you to have that college degree, especially when we dealt with the aviation space and everything else. The FAA was very particular on who held certain licensure and everything else. Gosh, looking at a resume never really told me that much. I always wanted to sit down with the person. And I've always used this phrase as we are looking for scrappy people. By scrappy, I mean, this is the kind of person that is willing to take out the trash, is willing to work the long hours, is willing to, put in the effort to make it happen. We've always hired for culture fit and personality. And when I broke those rules, it always ended up hurting us. Another rule I often broke, I tried to help somebody out, a buddy that needed a job or whatever it was. And that's breaking my rules. They may not have been a personality fit or a culture fit. They were a friend. And I always ended up losing that friendship over my silly mistake trying to help somebody out, ironically. So we always looked for that culture and that personality fit. You have to think, especially in the tech space, in the world of agile project management, which we use, we see everything in sprints. We're in a sprint right now. And I just had a meeting with the team. Unfortunately, we're working this Saturday and Sunday. As much as I want to be off with the family and everything else, but there's going to be time for that. There'll be plenty of weekends off coming up, but sometimes we're in that sprint season. You need the team that's not going to be grumbling when it's sprint season, when it's time to get that MVP to market, when you're missing that last little bit of code or whatever it is that needs to get in there and push it to test flight for beta testing, whatever it is. You need the team that's going to be willing to roll up their sleeves and get dirty. And you as the leader need to be right there with them, showing them that you're putting in the same amount of effort.
This episode is sponsored by Vanta. You're a startup founder. Finding product market fit is probably your number one priority. But to land bigger customers, you also need security compliance. And obtaining your SOC 2 or ISO 27001 certification can open those big doors. But they take time and energy, pulling you away from building and shipping. And that's where Vanta comes in. Vanta is the all-in-one compliance solution helping startups like yours get audit ready and build a strong security foundation quickly and painlessly. How, you ask? Vanta automates the manual security tasks that slow you down, helping you streamline your audit. And the platform connects you with trusted experts to build your program, auditors to get you through audits quickly, and a marketplace for essentials like pen testing. So whether you're closing your first deal or gearing up for growth, Vanta makes compliance easy. Join over 8,000 companies, including many Y Combinator and Techstars startups who trust Vanta. For a limited time, get $1,000 off Vanta at vanta.com/codestory. That's VANTA.com/codestory. This message is sponsored by QA Wolf. If slow QA process is bottlenecking your software engineering team and you're releasing slower because of it, you need a solution. You need QA Wolf. QA Wolf gets engineering teams to 80% automated end-to-end test coverage and helps them ship 5 times faster by reducing QA cycles from hours to minutes. With over 100 5-star reviews on G2 and customer testimonials from SalesLoft, Drata, AutoTrader, and many more, you're in good hands. Ready to ship faster with fewer bugs? Join the Wolfpack at QAWolf.com to see if they can help you squash the QA bottleneck. This message is sponsored by SnapTrade. Link in-user brokerage accounts and build world-class investing experiences with SnapTrade's unified brokerage API. With over $12 billion in connected assets and over 300,000 connected accounts, SnapTrade's API quality and developer experience are second to none. SnapTrade is SOC 2 certified and uses industry-leading security practices. Developers can use the company's official client SDKs to build investing experiences in minutes without the limitations of traditional aggregators. Get started for free today by visiting snaptrade.com/codestory. Okay, I'm curious about scalability. It's early days, right? But scaling is important in many different aspects, right? They're scaling the business, they're scaling the technology, they're scaling your team. How do you think about scale? And even in the early days now, have there been any areas where you've had to fight it as you've grown?
Scale at the end of the day all comes down to leverage. To go back to these revenue levers, which revenue lever can I develop that enables that scalability? And our willingness to scale as well. Are we pushing even the right metrics? I was talking to some young tech entrepreneurs the other day, and their first thing they wanted to share is, look how many followers I have, look how many views I'm getting, look at this. This is clearly a good idea. We are scaling our social media marketing. I thought, okay, I respect that. That's, not easy in today's, you got to pay for everything society, basically. It's much harder to go viral today than it was in the past due to all the congestion. However, I would argue they're scaling vanity metrics. Scaling is a challenge no matter what, whether you're trying to scale your vanity metrics or where you're trying to scale user growth or assets under stewardship or whatever it actually is. You have to first off make sure you are scaling the right thing because it takes so much effort and so much focus. And by the way, I'm not against vanity metrics by any means, but again, let's just make sure we're scaling the thing that's going to make the biggest difference. I'll use moolah as an example again. What good is it to me if I came to you, Noah, and I said, guess what, Noah? I added 100,000 users this past month. But if they only contributed $5 into their moolah account, believe it or not, I'd be losing money on that deal. But you added 100,000 users, Jason. Yes, but I didn't add 100,000 of the right users because they're just adding $5 to their account. And between my KYC bills, my AWS bills, everything else, I am losing money on that customer onboarding and going to continue to each and every month. So scaling for the sake of scaling is incorrect. We have to make sure we're first scaling the right metrics and attracting the right customers from that standpoint.
Okay, so I'll say this is for moolah and for your aviation company as well. As you step out on the balcony and you look across all that you've built, what are you most proud of?
We, in both businesses, have found our purpose in unlikely places. I'm sure everybody listening has read the famous book, Start With Why, and it's a great title, and it sounds good, but it's very hard to start with a why when you haven't even met your first customer or don't know, you're just building an avatar and it's a hypothetical person. I'll give an example of each. In our aviation business, at this point, we're already, say, 5-6 years into the business. We're getting by. We've only got 3 or 4 employees. I'm occasionally paying myself, and we're just trying to grow this thing. And again, the business was flight training. We were one of the largest online ground schools. So you would watch our videos, all online courses for becoming a pilot, to put it in plain English. And one day we got a support ticket that came in, and we only had one support team member. They said, Jason, I think you need to see this. And they occasionally brought me some tickets and stuff of an angry customer or an opportunity or something like that. And I remember reading the support ticket, and I still am friends with this person to this day. He said, Jason, yesterday I was in my little airplane. It was a Cessna 172. It's just a small 4-seat training aircraft. He said, I got to about 400 feet and my engine quit. A total failure. He said, there was no runway in front of me. There was no runway beneath me. And all I heard, Jason, was your voice. Push the nose forward. manage your airspeed, don't overbend, all these things that I would teach in our in-flight emergencies curriculum. He said, it was your voice that guided me all the way down into this farmer's field where I landed the airplane perfectly. I didn't hurt the farmer's field. I didn't hurt the airplane. In fact, I fixed the airplane up and towed it right out of there. And he ended the email by saying, and I'm alive today because of you. And I thought, whoa, all this time, I thought I was just helping people pass their test. I thought I was helping them go get a job at Delta or JetBlue or name the airline of your choice. But that day, and I got the whole team together and I said, we have thought we were in a different business. We thought we were in the test prep business. But read this email. We are in the business of saving people's lives. Because at the end of the day, whether they're flying with their spouse or they have that dream job where there's 300 paying passengers sitting behind them, they are in the business of getting these people safely from point A to point B. That's now the business we're in. The business changed that day when we rallied the team around this idea of, I'm not just helping you get a good score on your tests. I'm genuinely making you a safer, smarter pilot and maybe one day saving your life. When that happened, the team all came together. Talk about scaling. The team all had that clear vision, finally. And the same thing has happened on the moolah side of things. We had someone reach out to us. And, when we think about wealth so often, we think about making more money and having nice cars and having nice things. And someone reached out and sent an email and said, thank you for the technology you have built. You've given me more time with my family. My son used to come to me and say, Dad, can we throw the football? I'd say, no, I have to work. I got to pay the bills. I got to do this. Now my son comes to me and says, hey, Dad, can we throw the football? He says, now I have less pressure. I can stop what I'm doing and I can go throw the football with my son. At the end of the day, wealth is being able to do what I want, when I want, with whom I want. So when we change, we're not just trying to grow people's bank accounts. That's great, and that's a byproduct of what we do and help you steward your finances appropriately. I want to give you more time with your family. I want you to say yes to more throwing the football or watching your daughter do a ballet performance in the living room. That's what we're really in the business of. And when you can focus around that, it can really change your business.
Let's flip the script a little bit, and I want to stick with moolah. Tell me about a mistake you've made and how you and your team have responded to it.
Going from the aviation industry into a fintech, there were so many unknowns. I made some assumptions. And unfortunately, sometimes when you come off of a success, you believe that you'll be successful in all things. There was actually a time when we were trying to build the banking side first. And I knew I wanted the investing component. I knew I wanted the banking component as well. And I wanted it all, and I wanted it all at the same time, right? I broke the rule I just explained to you, have the MVP and feature lock it. And I was trying to do everything. In reality, we're a very small, scrappy team, to use that word. And I was pulling our developers all over the place. I was upsetting vendors because we were missing some deadlines and missing some security checks and all these different factors. And finally, it was my genius wife that came to me and said, Jason, focus on one thing and roll with it. This is where we decided, hey, the banking can come in version 1.1. We're going to go the investing side. We're going to be all in on this. But my idea was, well, I want it all now. So I'll hire more. I'll do this. I'll throw more warm bodies at it. And that is not how you scale. You don't throw payroll dollars at a problem. For those of us listening to this, you are these scrappy entrepreneurs that we're talking about. Not everybody has the luxury to throw payroll dollars at a problem. And I was trying to do that. And in reality, we burned more cash, our hard-earned cash from the previous exit, than we probably should have, because I was chasing something that should have just gotten the time out, 6 months ago and rolled with the investing side first. Now, again, everything worked out great and everything has been a subsequent successful launch, but think of the blow to morale. By the way, my wife and I do this business together, just like we did our aviation business. Think about us butting heads on this idea. We both are very strong, very opinionated individuals. We wouldn't be entrepreneurs if we weren't, right? It caused us to butt heads with that. In reality, I have learned that my wife often has the vision, and it's my job to go out and execute on that vision. And when we can fit and operate within our roles, I'm not saying we're not going to make mistakes, but we're certainly less likely to make those mistakes.
So this will be exciting. It's early days, so I know there's a lot here. for you. Tell me about the future for Moolah. What does it look like for the product and for your team?
The team is still remaining that scrappy bunch. We did make one additional hire here, but I made a mistake early on of over-hiring. Back to what I shared you in the aviation business, throwing people at problems, and that's not always the right way to go about it. So we've got our roadmap actually mapped out for the next 2 years, and it's within the wheelhouse and capabilities of the current team as we grow. Now, support team's going to continue to grow, marketing team's going to continue to grow, but from a dev standpoint, we've got a really, really solid team, and we've got a really great cadence and speed that we're operating within. You know, that's one thing that's so important is not living your life just sprint to sprint, but taking the time to share the vision with the team and say, this is where we're going. I've got the team, we haven't launched it yet, but we're moving towards robo-trading and robo-advising. We've got the algorithms and the language models to show, right? How do we actually edge out the S&P 500? There's 30 years worth of data. Let's test against this data and see what algorithm comes out on top. So I've got the team becoming literally quants and data scientists, and they just enjoy the math and the numbers and the algorithmic nature of everything to keep them engaged and within their wheelhouse of what they're excited about as well. Obviously, on the banking side, there's so many neat opportunities. And I'm sorry to say AI. I know every episode someone brings up artificial intelligence. And unfortunately, it's like, I'm kind of getting tired of it. Not artificial intelligence. I'm getting tired of the use of it because you experience this a lot, Noah. Someone says AI and you go, yeah, that's not really AI, but okay. You know, it's such a buzzword. It's becoming cliche now. Where we're actually going with this is through a large language model. I know that Jason, my client, lives in Naples, Florida. Now, I'm Jason's bank, so I know that Jason rents his home. I see the rent go out. I did the know your customer process, so I actually know the address. I can pull up the estimate on Zillow and everything else and pull in some API data to know exactly where Jason is. I can then use that language model to search the market and say, Jason, you're paying $1,500 a month for your 2-bedroom apartment or whatever it is. The average rent in Naples is actually $500 less per month. However, let's finish our algorithm here. What is the cost of moving? Well, the cost of moving is this. So I can create an opportunity cost analysis for Jason in Naples to save $500 a month. But is he really saving $500 a month based on it's now a longer commute to work? It costs X amount to actually move. There's this deposit at this apartment, whatever it is. I can run through all the various scenarios. I know Jason has Verizon, but I also am smart enough to know that AT&T has a deal right now if you sign for 2 years, and this could save you this. But what is that opportunity cost? That is where we're taking our language models to get that granular and that involved in your financial situation to help you make informed decisions. One of the most popular things we get asked on the banking side is, well, do I buy a car? Do I lease a car? Do I get a used car? And you know what? Every situation is different. The problem is there are so many, we'll call them investment advisors and wealth managers. They will just give blanket advice for everybody. But you know what? My needs are different than Noah's needs. They're different than some other listeners' needs based on our age, how many children we have, where we live. We have different goals. We have different lifestyles, etc., etc. The level of advice for your finances needs to be tailored to Jason. It needs to be tailored to Noah. And that is why even here today in the Moolah apps, stocks that are recommended to me would not be recommended to you, Noah, because we're just in different seasons of life. We have different risk tolerances, all these things. And we're continuing to add to the personalization of that. The future of finance is personalization. And it's not just finance, by the way. If you are, listening to this and building something else out in ed tech and sure tech, I don't add that, whatever tech it is, personalization is going to be the key. It doesn't need to exist for your MVP, but you need to be thinking in that direction. How can I make this ultra personalized to my members, to my users?
Let's switch to you, Jason. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to and why.
My parents, for starters. Both my wife and I grew up with our parents working together. My mom and dad had the pest control business. My wife's mom and dad worked together in a construction business. And to us, that was just totally normal. So it only made sense that when we were dating, we were already talking about what business we're going to start together, what we're going to do together, and everything else. So my parents play a pivotal role in that and in that upbringing. There's also many, we'll say, deceased voices that still ring so true today. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, written in 1937, still just as relevant today. You can read that book, even though it was written in 1937, and go, whoa, this is impactful. One thing Napoleon Hill says in there, in every adversity, there's the seed of a greater advantage. And every time I hit a struggle, that quote just sits with me, and I say, okay, there's the seed of an advantage here, and it's my job to find it, right? If I truly believe in every adversity, there's the seed of a greater advantage, it becomes my job to make lemonade out of lemons. I try to always be learning. I've always kind of been a little bit of a different kid, like back to being, 12 years old, killing bugs with dad. I'd be mowing the lawn or whatever it is, and I'd be listening to like Tony Robbins on cassette tape or Zig Ziglar or Jim Rohn or whomever else that may be. Like I've always been so big into personal growth and self-development. And even to this day, I was at the gym yesterday listening to Audible. And some people look at me and go, how can you listen to an audiobook and work out? I'm like, for me, that is just the time to learn and grow. If you are going to be expanding your business, you need to be expanding yourself with and mindful of what you feed your mind and who you feed your mind with. And honestly, even the people you allow into your life to influence what you're doing. You can't make room in your life for the naysayers. You're starting something great. And if you believe you're going to win, and someone else doesn't believe you're going to win, and they're going to nag you and challenge you, and there's nothing wrong if they want to give you a little friction to try to make your idea better. But if they're a true Debbie Downer and believe every day's a rainy day, there's no room for those people in your life. And you make sure you surround yourself around people who have been there and done that. And if you don't have those people in your life, you need to start consuming the books and the podcasts like this that are going to lift you up and be those voices until you reach a level where you attract those people into your life.
Okay, Jason, I have one more question for you. You're getting on a plane, and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world, and can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit? Maybe it reflects something you just mentioned, but I'm curious where you'll take it.
There's a few avenues to go, right? Assuming they haven't launched, it goes back to the advice of you don't have to get it right, you just have to get it going. But I'll take it a step further. So often in entrepreneurship, everyone is looking for home runs. Everyone is expecting home runs. Yet you, as a baseball dad, know this best. The game of baseball is won, just like business, in a series of base hits. I know that entrepreneur that I'm talking to is looking for that home run, but trust me, hit the ball in play, get to first base, let's recalibrate, and let's go do it again and get to second base and get to third base. And just put one foot in front of the other and begin, as Jim Collins says, your 20-mile march. Stop trying to run to the top of Everest. Stop trying to look for the home runs. Stop looking on Instagram because all you're seeing is what happens on stage. Behind the stage is messy, and no one ever wants to show you what happens behind the stage. And to this entrepreneur, they may not have a backstage just yet, but it's going to be messy. Embrace the chaos, embrace the mess, and just put one foot in front of the other, put the ball in play, and let's play again tomorrow. And that is what entrepreneurship really is. It's a 20-mile march. It's not a sprint.
Couldn't agree more with that. Well, Jason, thank you for being on the show today, and thank you for telling the creation story of Moolah.
Thanks, Noah.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now boarding Group A. Please have your boarding passes ready to scan. If your phone is cracked, old, or was chewed up by your Chihuahua travel companion, please refrain from holding up the line. We ask that you kindly not be that guy, and instead simply go to Verizon and trade in any phone from their top brands in any condition on any unlimited plan for the new Samsung Galaxy S25 with Galaxy AI.
With new line on my plan. Additional terms apply. See Verizon.com for details.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ12. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ12 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.